As the Steve Corino crisis infects almost every area of society, it was only a matter of time until sports entertainment got its first case. Fightful published an internal memo from WWE at the weekend confirming a WWE talent has tested positive for COVID-19, which is the first confirmed case in the company. The memo revealed to staff, "We have just been notified that Name Redacted was diagnosed with COVID-19. WWE doctors spoke with Name Redacted this morning and reported they last had contact with anyone at WWE on March 26th at the Performance Center. As you know, Name Redacted is not an in-ring performer, and we believe this matter is low risk to you per the following chronology." The memo then goes on to say that the person in question did consent to WWE sharing their name and status in the internal note, and that they're now thankfully feeling much better. The memo then laid out the timeline for WWE personnel and how they would have been okay for the resumed TV taping schedule starting last Friday. Those of you who were potentially exposed would be cleared for travel by the evening of Thursday, April 9th at the latest, since the latest possible exposure to any WWE talent personnel should have been at least 14 days prior, during the last taping day of WrestleMania 36, which wrapped on Thursday the 26th of March. The memo was then signed off by Paul Levesque. You know it's serious when Triple H uses his shoot name. With the news now public, WWE quickly confirmed the report to their wrestling website of choice, Pro Wrestling Sheet, with its editor Ryan Satin their special correspondent on WWE Backstage, where a few more details were revealed about the case. A WWE employee has tested positive for COVID-19. We believe this matter is low risk to WWE talent and staff, as the individual and a roommate became symptomatic in the days following exposure to two people working in acute healthcare on the evening of March 26th, after WWE's TV production on a closed set was already complete. The employee had no contact with anyone from WWE since being exposed to those two individuals, is doing well, and made a complete recovery. Pro Wrestling Sheet then reiterated the person in question is an on-screen talent in the company who is not a member of the roster, ruling out the wrestlers and implying it's a commentator or backstage interviewer, one who lives with a roommate. Online speculation immediately went to real-life WWE couple of wrestler Carmella and SmackDown commentator Corey Graves, who have been self-isolating since mid-March. That means they weren't at the WrestleMania tapings though, meaning they're not the aforementioned first WWE case, as Carmella herself confirmed on Twitter. "I appreciate your concern, but don't believe everything you read on the internet. Fortunately, I've been healthy through all of this. Praying hands emoji." It massively calls into question Vince McMahon's decision to continue running tapings 3 times a week for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Up until last Friday, the plan was for WWE to bulk tape a whole month's worth of content to reduce the amount of travel required from its wrestlers and crew, which in turn would massively reduce the risk of spreading the disease. That was still a very risky strategy though, with many other sports leagues and TV shows shutting down operations completely, like McMahon's own XFL. But midway through the first day of tapings on Friday, Vince reportedly changed his mind to something significantly riskier. WWE will now tape 3 times a week moving forward, which means significantly more travel and a much higher risk of spreading disease. As the memo showed, people can have Steve Corino without showing any symptoms, meaning WWE's testing precautions are fundamentally flawed. To answer the growing criticism, WWE have taken the very rare step of publicly issuing a statement. Talking to ESPN, a network that forced UFC to stop running shows last week, WWE wrote, "We believe it is now more important than ever to provide people with a diversion from these hard times. We are producing content on a closed set with only essential personnel in attendance, following appropriate guidelines while taking additional precautions to ensure the health and wellness of our performers and staff." As a brand that has been woven into the fabric of society, WWE and its superstars bring families together and deliver a sense of hope, determination, and perseverance. A noble sentiment, but not one that holds any water. The statement does not explain why WWE are continuing to run a full live schedule opposed to the exponentially less risky pre-taping content in advance. As the Wrestling Observer reports, the decision is far more likely driven by revenue and the fear of reneging on WWE's pre-existing network deals. McMahon is apparently worried TV networks will use WWE not being live as a way to get out of their contracts, which only allow for around 3 pre-tape shows a year. And with WWE already having lost between $15 and $17 million from WrestleMania 36 ticket and merchandise sales, and the promotion projected to lose a further $340 million if forced to cancel the remainder of live events for the year, WWE find themselves increasingly dependent on those USA Network and Fox TV deals. It's a deep shame the company appears to be valuing these bottom lines over adhering to CDC guidelines. Former WWE star Ryback has called for all wrestling talent to stand together and refuse to perform, saying the wrestling world will be better off without McMahon. And Rebby Sky, the wife of Matt Hardy, who left WWE only the other month, has tweeted, "Wrestling is great and all, but it is not essential," saying she wouldn't let Matt work before state stay-at-home orders are lifted. And to put things even more in perspective, we have the story of Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan. Bryan has been in a 3-week quarantine since finishing last month's WrestleMania tapings on his family's doctor's advice. So Brie tweeted yesterday, "Bryan always bringing the sunshine even when he's away. Yellow heart emoji, love you. Sweet face emoji." To which Bryan replied, "I would give anything to be with you right now." Elephant emoji, red heart emoji, koala emoji. This presumably means Bryan will not be on WWE programming moving forward, as he'd have to enter 3 weeks of quarantine after every time he records at the Performance Center, meaning he wouldn't see his family for months. It's a sobering reminder that the wrestlers and crew who work these shows will not see their family due to being in perpetuating self-imposed quarantine. Do you think all wrestlers should unite and refuse to perform? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. At least one WWE property is shutting things down, and of course, it's nothing to do with Steve Corino. Thanks for your support on Patreon. No one names their kid this anymore. Larry. 2K Games' WWE 2K20 was a disaster. Its unfixed glitches making it borderline unplayable, and not just winning several Worst Game of the Year awards, but even the impressive 6th position on Metacritic's Worst Game of the Decade list. 8 out of 10 IGM. WWE 2K20 was so bad, there was a bug in the game code that meant when console clocks ticked over to 2020, the game stopped working. WWE 2K20 could not be played in 2K20. And now the 2K franchise can't be played for another year. The streak extends. Former WWE video game writer Justin Leeper, who penned the old Road to WrestleMania mode, has revealed his sources say WWE 2K21 has been cancelled. He notes that WrestleMania was last weekend, and traditionally WrestleMania brought with it a trailer or an announcement or some news about the upcoming WWE game. That did not happen this year. Why is that? Because I have heard from reliable sources, and I truly believe there will be no WWE 2K21 game this year. Justin also points out that usually around this time, 2K starts their motion capture work with WWE talent for the upcoming game, which they can't do because of Steve Corino. For those still wanting a new WWE game this year though, you might be still in unluck. Leeper does note a new title will be released in 2020, it just won't be a simulation game like WWE 2K20, and will be a different kind of WWE game from a different kind of video game developer. So a mobile game then. Which means we won't be able to play as the most anticipated in-ring return of 2020, the return of Drake Maverick. Wait, just let me check, he wasn't in the 2K20 as no one actually played that game. He wasn't, the segue still works. William Regal announced on The Bump last week, is that similar to The Gronk? But because Jordan Devlin can't defend his belt for 30 days, that totally holds up to consistency. Due to travel restrictions, he will be stripped of the title and an interim champion will be crowned in a tournament, which has now been revealed to be WWE's version of New Japan's G1, with 4 wrestlers in Group A and 4 in Group B facing off against each other in a round-robin tournament, with the winners of each group wrestling in the final. Whack-bat. Those taking part in the tournament are Kushida, Tony Nese, Jake Atlas, Isaiah Swerve Scott, El Hijo del Fantasma, Akira Tozawa, Jack Gallagher, and yes, Drake Maverick. But what does that mean for Drake's other job, the general manager of 205 Live? Don't worry, I also forgot he was 205 Live's GM, and that 205 Live was a thing. Maverick has revealed on Twitter that he will be stepping down as 205 Live's general manager, a position that he's had since January 2018. That show's had a GM for over 2 years, what? And NXT general manager William Regal will take over. Drake Maverick will now transition back to a full-time wrestling role, which he reveals is something he's been pitching for backstage since his feud with Mike Kanellis last year. I'd been knocking on the doors asking to be an in-ring competitor. That wasn't working out for me, and it was making me really doubt myself. I want to thank Mr. Regal for taking over the duties of the Cruiserweight division and to thank him publicly for this amazing opportunity. It's the latest step in 205 Live and the Cruiserweight division being integrated in the Triple H NXT-verse. Those who have watched Drake Maverick's career previously, knowing him as Rockstar Spud from TNA, will know how good he is in the ring, and hopefully WWE will give him a chance to show that. What are 10 other Firefly Funhouse or Boneyard style matches WWE needs to put on? Click the video on the right to find out in Adam Blompier's latest list, and find out the true backstory of Bray Wyatt's Fiend by watching Laurie's new episode of Explained by clicking the video below that. And remember to stay up to date with all the wrestling world by making WrestleTalk.com your homepage. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.